So here we have, in a great class, what we all want. And this title is deliberately very broad and deliberately very, very optimistic and assuming that we all want the same thing. But it's true that we all want to be in a great class. Students want that, professors want that. We want our class to be a great class. So I want to talk today how I try to kind of mobilize that common desire for a great class, and I begin that on the very first day of class. I circulate a questionnaire. It's a short questionnaire, and so I want to spend my time today kind of talking through that questionnaire and thinking about this huge power of commonality. Right, that everyone walks in with these common desires, and that commonality in recognizing what it is that we all want. So you can switch to the next slide. So the first question that I ask is, how many English courses have you taken at Berkeley? And this number is always in the hundreds. And in a class of 100 students, it's in the several hundreds. It's very easily 500, 550 English classes that we all have. So the fact that we have these collectively, the collective is the really important thing. And the answer to this question, right, I've taken 8 English classes, but altogether, we've taken 550 English classes. Make every student a part of that collective. It's a collective in terms of their experience, in terms of their intellectual curiosity, in terms of their expertise, and it shows them beyond their own individual narrative and beyond their own individual experience that there's a base of knowledge in that classroom that is shared and that is extensive and that is really huge and that it's there for everybody to draw on. It gives them something more in common than they thought they might have. Everybody kind of walks in with their own experience and all of a sudden they realize that there's this shared and really large experience, that they're part of something larger, and they're impressed by how large that larger thing is. And so I tell them, you know, we're good at this. We know what we're doing here, and we actually get better every time we do it. So this sets up the class as a kind of culmination of all this experience, as kind of the farthest point that all this experience has brought them, and that's inherently inspiring. To belong to something that's held in common, that's bigger than you, and that's really going in the right direction. And so then I ask them, what are the first words that come to mind when they think of early American literature, my field? And usually, they're here, I won't read them all, but usually it's some combination of like bonnets and hardship. That's usually where they go, which is actually not that too far off the mark. So I use this first to paint a scene of their initial impressions that we know will change over the course of the semester. But also, they recognize that there are common answers, and that the things that they recognize their own answers first, and they can't believe that I'm saying their actual answer because they don't think it was a very good answer. But they recognize that everybody else has the same field of impressions. And it gives them, again, a we, like we all think this, we all think like this. It also gives them permission to have pat images at the beginning of a study that they really don't know anything about, and so it relieves that embarrassment of having very scant knowledge of something, because everybody does, and it also lets us know that we're at the beginning of something. We're all just at the beginning of something, and that's something else that we're doing together. We're at the beginning together. You can go to the next slide. And now, here's the heart of the questionnaire, is that I introduce the idea of a great class. And in doing so, this is the assumption that we all know what a great class is. Whether it's an experience, whether it's just a wish, we all know that thing, and we all want that thing. So in a great class, the readings are fun, informative, not too crammed, multifaceted, engaging, manageable, and you can go ahead and read the rest of them. But the thing that always strikes me is how reasonable these desires are, right? They want the readings to be engaging and eye-opening and complex. They also want them to be pertinent. They want them to be covered in class. And I never, that's fair enough. And I never get answers like, I want the readings to be short, I want the readings to be easy, I want the readings to be just a few. They're definitely willing to work for it, and this also communicates that not only to me, but to them. So it's reflecting back to them what their own ideals are and what their desires are, and they see really clearly what they have in common. So listening to the list, it's not only their own answers, but they see it reflected in other people's answers. They share the common things, they share the important things, even though they don't know each other yet at all. And that's a really powerful feeling. That spreads a very powerful feeling through the room, you can feel it. So here's where it gets interesting. What do they see as our job? And again, you can, I don't have time to read through it, but you can read through it as I talk about it. It's a very, very tall order. Right? But again, in each of these elements, it's really reasonable. It's reasonable to say that in a great class, the professor is enthusiastic or clear or invested. It's reasonable that in a great class, the professor is not ego-driven. But if you fill all these qualities, you might have, it might result in an ego, but that shouldn't drive you. But again, I've asked them, what is the ideal case? I've asked them to imagine and describe what they want most of all. And this turns out is what I want too, right? I read this list and say, that's what I want to be. So I recognize the best version of myself in that. And I say to them, okay, this is my job description. Now, this is the thing that I'm going to try to be, and I'll try to live up to this. So it's letting them know that I share their ideals, and that those ideals really have been heard. You can go to the next class, and this is the last one. So here they write their own job description. And in class after class, they're very, very consistent about what they want from themselves and from each other. And you can read some of these qualities. They want each other to be prepared and smart and ready to learn. These are qualities that every faculty member wants. But they also want themselves to be kind and open and respectful and good listeners. And this is really bringing home the social element of the class, where students really learn together and feel safe and supported in learning together. And again, what we learn from this is the great class is a collective space. It's a shared space and a social space where people are being real. And that kind of honesty is a value that's universally recognized and desired by students. So in the great class that they've described, the content, the professor, the students, they all have a very high ideal. And just saying this and reflecting it does something to bring it into being. They immediately feel a sense of camaraderie. How could they not? It becomes a kind of social contract because it's what we all want. And what I end up saying is, if we know what we want and we all want the same thing, there's no reason that we shouldn't have it. Yes.